Live from KTTC, this is News Center at 6.
Thank you for watching us. Last night we were hit hard with rain, closing roads throughout the state.
And as people are working on cleaning up, most have their fingers crossed for a dry weekend. Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen joins us now live from the Weather Center. Nick, what are we expecting?
Well, the good news, after we had the record-breaking rainfall early this morning, we are dry and we should stay dry throughout most of the evening tonight and through your weekend. Currently, Luciano Skycam, downtown Rochester. We just have those gloomy skies. And that cloud cover has really kept our temperatures under wraps, at least throughout much of the afternoon today for those of us in Rochester. Winds right around 6 miles per hour. We continue to deal with some cloudy skies, but no rainfall, maybe a passing stray shower possible this evening. I do think for the most part we're pretty quiet during the evening hours tonight. 76 here in Rochester, but other cities across southeastern Minnesota into the lower 80s. Winona at 81, La Crosse at 83, Albert Lee at 81, and Austin at 82. And as we move to Iowa, Mason City up to 88 degrees. Now, this is the type of heat that we'll start to see as we head towards your weekend as well. Dew points, that's the moisture content we have in the atmosphere. Once we start seeing dew points upper 60s, lower 70s, and that's when we know it's humid outside. And we'll stay muggy throughout the evening hours tonight, but we're dry overnight into your weekend as well. For high temperature today, we hit 81 degrees, and of course we dealt with the massive rainfall amounts we had this morning. Just under 5 inches of rain fell at the Rochester International Airport. We'll continue to deal at least with the dry conditions for now. That's some good news for us. Caitlin?
Thanks, Nick. Some of the heaviest rains led to significant flooding near Byron this morning. The Zumbro River's current was so strong it swept dozens of cows away.
Some of them have been found, others are still missing tonight. News Center Shannon Russo joins us in our studio with the very latest on this. Shannon?
Well, Tom and Caitlin, the dramatic video of those cows being swept away is making the rounds on social media. We spoke with the farmer who owns them. He says some are safe, but it could take some time to get them back home.
These are cows floating down the river. Poor cattle.
An unwanted ride down the Zumbro River. 56 cows and their calves swept away by the rising floodwaters near Byron Friday morning.
That was terrible. You hope they survived. That's all you can do.
Robert Eustace and his sons are now spending their day trying to get them back.
Hopefully everything's alive. But we had little calves out here too. It might be a couple days before we know where we're at.
About 56 of the Eustace family's 150 cattle herd were out in this pasture overnight, but when the rain started to fall and the floodwaters quickly started to rise, it carried those animals right with it.
The water is still too high to venture out and look for the animals, but some are starting to show up.
About probably 7 o'clock this morning, we started seeing some cows floating down the river.
Katie Andrus lives near Oxbow Park. We spoke to her via FaceTime since her home is surrounded by water. She spotted at least 15 cows and calves roaming through her yard.
And so they've kind of been just pasturing in our yard and between our yard and the neighbor's yard because they have nowhere to go because of the waters all around us.
Meanwhile, other neighbors like Paul Pyfrone are hitting the road to look for the rest.
Somebody called in, said they were down in the Genoa area, so I'm down here kind of looking around for them and trying to help them out.
And while the search for the missing animals continues, Eustace chooses to remain optimistic.
They'll be fine. Hopefully they'll find some grass to eat, and of course there's water there. So.
And right now, the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office expects the intersection of Valley High Road Northwest and County Road 5 in Byron to be closed for quite some time. The water in that area needs to recede quite a bit in order for the family to get their surviving cattle back home. At last check, they have not been able to reach any of them. Live in the studio tonight, Shannon Brousseau, KTTC News Center.
Scary stuff, Shannon. Thank you. Well, all that rain is making its way downstream, and that's why there's major flooding now in Pine Island.
The middle of Pine Island is looking kind of like a lake today. As you can see, the middle fork of the Zumbro River is quite high there, even flooding streets. Soccer and football fields are submerged. Jerry Murray has lived in the town for years and says today may be worse than the major floods that he experienced back in 2010.
Oh, right here it's worse than what was in 2010. And we've been monitoring water in our neighborhood, and it come up pretty quick this morning. I think this is probably a little worse than before, But we had other problems. We had a lift station that went down, so there was sewer backup and stuff like that.
So that just happened in a few hours, but back in 2010, it rained for days, causing devastating floodwaters that tormented Pine Island and just downriver wiped out the dam holding back Lake Shady on the edge of Orinoco.
MnDOT has Highway 52 closed by mile marker 70 just south of Pine Island due to water on the highway. Water from the Middle Fork Zumbro River hit major flood stage in Pine Island. The river runs near Highway 52, where it's now closed. Officials say the highway could be closed until 6 a.m. Sunday. Traffic is being detoured along U.S. Highway 63 and Highway 60.
And moving to northwest Rochester, where parts of West River Parkway were also underwater with roads blocked off. Many drivers coming through that area were forced to find a detour. The virtual lake also includes most of Riverview West Park.
And the flooding continues, leaving its mark at RST. The Rochester International Airport posted this video to Facebook. It shows an overflowing airfield runway intersection early this morning. Just less than 5 inches of rain fell overnight at the airport, forcing the airfield to close until standing water started to go down. The water impacted several flights. The airport reports flooding is very unusual at RST. Here in Rochester, the rain made for a wet and messy commute for drivers.
As those high waters affected roads there as well, as you can see, parts of Wood Lake Drive were impassable as the water levels rose throughout the day. One of the businesses hardest hit was Channel One Food Bank, which was forced to close its doors for the day. Channel One's assistant director says closure due to the floodwaters has never happened before.
There are definitely going to be people who are impacted, who needed to come out here for food today. I've been with Channel One for 36 years, and we've been in this building out here in Wood Lake Park for 31 years, and we've never had flooding out here. This is absolutely a first at our location in Wood Lake.
Not only is the flooding impacting services at the food bank today, but because of the trucks and water participating in the Rochester Fest Grand Parade is going to be a challenge this weekend. Well, many residents were awakened by thunder this morning only to find their basements flooded and their yards underwater.
Neighborhoods in Casson were hit by the overflowing rainfall that blocked many roads in and out of the city. Near Lions Park, homes, businesses, and public spaces were completely flooded. Firefighters from the Casson Fire Department set up their trucks to block several intersections and prevent drivers from driving through standing water.
We've got the trucks and barriers set up to help them stay out of the flooded roads. You know, we don't want them driving in the flooded areas and they end up getting stuck and different things like that. But yeah, it's a frustration because it's something different. You know, it's a change to their morning routine.
The fire chief said that about half a dozen people had to be evacuated from an apartment building, but there were no injuries or accidents related to the flooding.
And some neighbors made the best of the rude awakening today, coming together to help clean up. The Meyer family borrowed a pump and wasted no time cleaning out the lower level of their house. They told us that they're grateful that things weren't as bad as they could have been.
It started coming in and we didn't have a pump or anything, so we just started taking things off the floor and just scrambling.
Meyer says his home had also flooded earlier this year when the snow melted.
Nearby in Manorville, Riverside Park was also submerged. Many people pulled over on Main Street to snap pictures of the sights. Dodge County deputies were out and about to make sure no one came into harm's way during the early hours of the commute. Several pieces of debris could be seen floating away. Though several intersections remain closed, the water is receding naturally.
And some frightening moments near Dodge Center. The fire department was involved in a water rescue there. A viewer sent us these photos. Mike Miracle was there capturing images of the fire department helping people in a stalled vehicle. He reports 3 people were rescued from the stalled vehicle on 160th Avenue. And as we continue to report the storm damage, track our Weather Authority forecasts on the go. Download the free KTTC weather app, available now on Google Play and the App Store. Well, still at tonight, Rochester police announced an arrest in southeast part of Rochester shooting. It happened Tuesday night. What's next now for the investigation?
And U.S. Representative Jim Hagedorn is in Olmsted County today, where he visited and what he had to say about support for area farmers.